Hello, everyone. This is Paul Rod, and I want to welcome you back to the Hydrogen Podcast. I'm excited about today's interview. Today, we're going to dive into the amazing role that hydrogen fuel cells will play in the aviation industry. I asked the CEO of HyPoint to come on the show and discuss their technology and give us his thoughts on the future of zero-emission aircraft to give you a glimpse behind the curtain. HyPoint is a manufacturer of next-generation hydrogen fuel cell systems. HyPoint's turbo air-cooled hydrogen fuel cells feature zero CO2 emissions and game-changing energy performance for their air transportation and urban air mobility market. I have followed HyPoint for a while now, and I think what they're doing for the aviation industry is incredible. So let me cue up the theme song really quick so we can dive into the interview. So the big questions in the energy industry today are, how is hydrogen the primary driving force behind the evolution of energy? Where is capital being deployed for hydrogen projects globally? And where are the best investment opportunities for early adopters who recognize the importance of hydrogen? I will address the critical issues and give you the information you need to deploy capital. Those are the questions that will unlock the potential of hydrogen, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Paul Rodden, and welcome to the Hydrogen Podcast. Okay, welcome back. Today I am joined by Dr. Alex Ivanenko. Dr. Ivanenko is the co-founder and CEO of HyPoint, the startup developing hydrogen fuel cell systems specifically for the aviation and aeronautics industry. In 2020, HyPoint won NASA's iTech initiative for its breakthrough high-temperature fuel cell system, which utilizes compressed air for both cooling and oxygen supply to deliver unprecedented energy density, and specific power performance. Alex has a PhD in electrochemistry and spent the majority of his impressive career in the energy industry. Alex, welcome. It's great to have you on the podcast.
Hello, Paul. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much that you are having me today. I'm really proud to be here, and thank you very much that you invited me today.
I couldn't be more thrilled for you to join us today. So let's talk a little bit about your background. What led you to start HyPoint and what your company specializes in?
So, as you said earlier, I'm PhD in electrochemistry, but built my career in international business development at US corporations like 3M and Olds Corning many years, where I have been taking projects from R&D stage to fully commercialization, exactly what I'm doing right now in HyPoint. And we started our company in 2019 when we were accepted by Alchemist Accelerator. And we moved completely from Russia to the United States. And so, of course, we are no strangers to hydrogen fuel cell technology. Actually, we developed before low temp membrane technology and fuel cells. So that is why we are so confident that existing fuel cells will not work in aviation industry, because we know that industry well and product well. And actually, in October in 2019, I met with Val Miftakhov, who is the CEO and founder of Zero Avio, and he inspired us to think about hydrogen aviation. Actually, in that time, no one thought about that. Hydrogen aviation? Are you kidding me? So what is that? And we started to think, hey, how to integrate existing fuel cells in our technology and in aviation industry. And we very quickly figured out that no, it doesn't work. And we started to think how to increase efficiency of cooling, because it is the main issue with low temp fuel cell, especially for aviation industry. And that is how we came to idea to replace low temp membrane to high temp membrane, because high temp membrane operates at high temperature, and that makes easy to cool the system. So we invited in the team, in co-founding team, that, like I would say, experts from high temp membrane industry and product. So it's Brian Benzevich, John Vogel, and Ron Stout. Brian, by the way, is the inventor of high temperature membrane. Ron Stout and John Vogel were, I would say, the best in the class engineers who really commercialized first high temp membrane technology in 2010 when they were at Plug Power. And we incorporated company, made a new brand in February of 2020. And that's how we started our company. I mean, we really started to develop the system and et cetera, et cetera.
I mean, that's really interesting just seeing how really quickly the company has developed and come to where it is now with all the big news that you have coming out. Before we dive too deep into the technology, can
Mhm.
you discuss the current state of the aviation industry and why there's this need for hydrogen powered aircraft?
So there is a few questions. So how to say? There are a few answers. First of all, it's a how to say problem with climate change and actually transportation. That's impact about five. It's a different estimations about between 2 and 5%. And of course, you cannot solve the problem of climate change without zero CO2 emission electric vehicle. This is the main how to say main trend in that a main idea to switch to different types of electric vehicles. I would say, and people we will how to say take it out of brackets the question. We will speak about that later. I think why not lithium and others.
Right.
And the second reason that you can see that right now a lot of airlines companies, so they really started to invest, not just sign LOIs, but they really started to invest funds in different companies and who's working on hydrogen aviation and electric aviation, I would say, because the question of price ticket, you can really increase your efficiency of operation of your company just switching from standard fuel to something new. That is a motivates them to integrate new type of fuels in their business model.
That's great. What's your take on the industry's view on hydrogen powered aircraft? Are they embracing that need to change? And are they taking a gradual wait and see approach or seeking out collaboration with your company to investigate their options?
So I would say that I experienced with both. So because time to time the people who's like a bicycle aircraft corporation, who's our customer, they came to us with the idea that, hey guys, hey Alex, we have checked different types of technology. Diesel doesn't work well for our helicopter. Lithium batteries. They created the first joke. As I can tell you that on one of the meeting with their CTO, he said, I asked them, please explain why you would like to use hydrogen in the helicopter. You can use lithium batteries. He said me, Alex, there are three liars in the world: liars, big liars, and battery suppliers. And, and after that, I'm not kidding. That's really true. And after that, I understood that people who really would like to use such technology, they really already tried different types of technology, and they ready to take something new and start to work with startups like HyPoint to bring the technology in the reality, because they tried everything, and this everything doesn't work for them. And this is the one of the example. The second example is like a big companies, and they of course, so they are waiting because they are big corporations and they cannot directly work with startups and etc. So they're moving from time to time slow, step by step development and etc. And of course, for them, how to say, focusing on how HyPoint develop deliver results is very, very important. And now we have one of big corporation in our portfolio, like a paying customer. And that is, as I said earlier, so we have two types of customers, and both model we accept it because we are a startup company. Of course, we have to work with everyone. So who
Yeah.
would like to work with us, of course.
So just curious, but in your estimation, what is the future market potential for hydrogen in the aviation industry?
I think this is will be the main fuel for next 50, 60 years. This is I'm extremely confident. Like right now, it's a gas like a standard gasoline or kerosene who's using in aviation. It will
Mhm.
be the same for hydrogen, but we have to wait for that, man. It will be like a fully accepted by the market. And market right now, it's a huge movement for the market. So, and because the aircraft guys, they and engineers, they are very, very conservative. So
Yeah.
so if you invented something 550 years ago, you still use it in your aircraft and etc. So but this is a huge movement is still going, and I'm happy to be part of this movement and this how to say transformation of the market, and we make that possible. We are how to say trying to bring our technology to accelerate that process.
Okay, so let's finally get into HyPoint and the technology that you're developing. First of all, why the aviation industry? And your fuel cell technology can benefit a number of industries. What led you to specialize in aviation?
It's easy. We are a startup company. So of course I have investors and I have to bring them idea that we will bring something completely new. We will revolutionize the market industry and etc. And actually existing fuel cells like based on low temp membrane, it's fine for terrestrial application. There is no solution for aviation. And as I said earlier, so we started to speak with different customers. They came to us and say, Alex, give us something. So your white paper you published looks good. Give us something. So let's do feasibility study. We would like to understand more and more and more. So that is why our initial focus was on aviation industry, because no one has solution and only HyPoint that we can bring that technology and really accelerate development and enable this market. So that is why our initial focus is here. But of course, you're absolutely right. So we have a plan to start collaboration within marine application, because actually I would say for aviation is must have lightweight system, right? So lightweight fuel cell. For marine application, for the heavy duty trucks, for mining industry, is good to have, but it's good to have, not much, but good. And of course, so we have a plan to establish collaboration with different markets and different players. And actually, we are speaking with guys. But I would like to build first system and validate the system, demofied system with innovation industry, and after that go to other market segments and say, this is a HyPoint stack. It works in aviation. Can you imagine that? If that works in aviation, it will be definitely work in marine application and in other industries, because your requirements is much lower than for these guys.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
Excellent. So in the world of zero emission aviation, there seems like a big issue that few are willing to discuss publicly, but I think your company is well suited to provide the solution. So the problem, as I see it, is that, and you alluded to this earlier, that lithium-ion batteries can't store enough energy to produce the required amount for lift. And the number of batteries required would be ridiculously heavy. And the current quote unquote standard low temperature fuel cells can't provide enough power to the aircraft. So what is HyPoint's solution to the weight and power balance issue? Or to ask it a different way, how does HyPoint's fuel cell solve the weight problem on an aircraft?
Yeah, so, and Paul, this is a good question. And actually, this is a commonly asked question from from my partners, investors, and customers. And first of all, there are few innovations here. The main issue with existing fuel cells, and you should understand that aircraft guys, when they understood that, hey, we have to work with fuel cell because lithium battery is not enough energy, as you said, and that's absolutely true. We should use something, technology which is available on the market, and they started to integrate low temp membrane fuel cell stacks in their aircraft. But the main issue with low temp stack is the balance of plant is very, very heavy, because it requires very heavy cooling system, which usually as much as 2 times heavier than fuel cell stack itself. So we increase efficiency of cooling because of high temperature membrane. We increase temperature of the chemical reaction. So that is why we don't need to use a lot of like a standard components of system like intercoolant, liquid coolant, different types of pumps, and etc. We can exclude it from the system design at all. And if you can compare apple by apple, you can see that we are more efficient, much more lighter, because we don't use a lot of components inside. And of course, other, there are few other innovations is a new system architecture, which we call turbo air-cooled system, that efficiently utilized compressed air for both cooling and oxygen supply. Simply put, we increase pressure inside the fuel cell, deliver more oxygen in the chemical reaction, and that allowed us to increase power output. And of course, we created a new bipolar plates, which is usually also the very heaviest part of fuel cell stack. So we made it from aluminum, and that is why how our system becomes more lighter. But you should understand, of course, high temp membrane is not quite new technology. So it was invented by Brian more than 20 years ago, and the main application before it was in stationary application. Why? because high temp membrane is, I'm how to say, operates in very, very toxic environment. And that is why to, how to say, stabilize the fuel cell stack and electrochemical reaction, you must use very heavy parts of like a graphite inside, and that is why it's become heavy. Our innovation that we replaced graphite bipolar plates to aluminum. At the same time, we invented and created highly conductive corrosion resistant coating for these aluminum bipolar plates. So I would say that a combination of different types of technologies makes it happen to to produce a system and convince our customers that yes, it's possible to integrate in our aircraft.
I mean, so that really is revolutionary. I mean, even though the high temperature setup isn't necessarily that new, what you've done to that setup is really revolutionary.
That's true. And I would say that we are the first company in the world who done that successfully. And we recently launched a few stacks, short stacks, mini stacks, and we validated everything on small cells, 6 cell stacks, and etc. And right now we are scaling to single power module, which we expect to get in June this year. We are really first company in the world who done that. So no one before.
Well, congratulations then. How would you integrate your technology into different aircraft? For example, in order to go from, let's say, a helicopter to an Airbus, right? Is it simply a matter of stacking your fuel cells or about creating a custom solution with new materials that you would need to test?
This is also a good question. So our idea is to simplify approach for each customer. So that is why, if you remember, I mentioned just like a couple minutes ago about single power module, 20 kilowatt or 60 kilowatt, doesn't make sense. So we are integrating modular approach. It means that we can achieve necessary power level, just arrange together necessary quantities of these power modules. And that is why by an integration and packaging of these single power modules in one system, so we collaborate together very, very close, really very, very, very close with our customers. Like, so by the way, in the middle of May, I don't know when you will be published this podcast, so we will have one more collaboration meeting with SpaceX Aircraft Corporation. They will arrive to our facility in UK. And I'm kidding, of course, but I will close. We will close with John Paiseki. We will close their engineering team, our engineering team in the meeting room for 1 week. Just order them pizza, beer, time to time, and the door will be closed until they will create a new packaging. I'm kidding, of course, but this is I think when engineers work together, they very, very close and like a daily basis. They really can create a lot of different different options how to integrate the system. That is why for HyPoint it's important to work with customers, like not just a solution, but it's customizable, of course, for time to time, depends on customer requirements. But in general idea, we are using modular approach, as I said earlier, and scaling, achieve necessary power level is not a big deal for us. That is our statement at the moment.
Awesome. So speaking of testing, I know HyPoint is in the certifications phase of your technology. Would you mind discussing the rigorous certification process to commercialization? What does that entail? And have you encountered any challenges while you're continually evolving your technology?
This is again good question. And again, we are teaming with our customers because HyPoint, we are just a component of the powertrain, right? So we are specifically between electric motor and hydrogen storage. So we are just one of the components. And based on FAA rules, we don't need to get a type certificate for our system. We have to get approval. And that is why when we started work with customers, and you should understand that aviation industry doesn't work like a one-time project. I don't have one-time project in our portfolio. So we have like a multi-stage agreement, 3-5 years, and depends on the stage. We also have pre-orders and etc. I actually understand what will happen with the industry next 7 years, next 9 years. And this is how that industry works. And again, teaming with customers, we are creating certification roadmap. So, and last year we started that certification process with the FAA, with one of our customers, because this is absolutely new FAA and another force doesn't understand how to get certifiable product, and et cetera, et cetera. That is why, again, collaboration with customers, with regulators, regulation authorities, we are, how to say, train them, they train us, and that's how we are going to bring that technologies, how to say, certifiable next 3-5 years. This is our plan, and actually, it's not something like unrealistic. So this is what we have. We have bi-weekly calls with their certified engineers. We have right now 2 engineers in the team who is responsible for certification process, and this is important. We are a startup, yes, but my plan, my idea to commercialize the product, and I understand that without without certification, my product will not be commercialized. So that is why I started now certification process to get it in 3-5 years to get a commercial product on the market.
And, before I jump into the next question, you actually said something that I want to highlight that I do talk about sometimes to people who are a little bit skeptical on hydrogen. If everyone's talking about the return time on these investments, why are so many people investing right now when you're not really seeing the returns? But you really just kind of mentioned a specific point about that. And that is, you have to apply for certifications and things like that now in order to be able to apply your technology later. So that's, I think, one of the reasons why you see so much news about hydrogen now and not a whole lot of, action items that are taking place right now. It's because this is what's going on in the background. All of these companies like yourself are having to go through these certification processes to really validate the technology. So I'm really glad you mentioned that, because I think it's important to highlight to some of the skeptics who are looking at this and saying, I'm not seeing a lot of that end product news right now.
These guys can invest in software companies. Their return on investment very, very fast. So it's just invest in 3 months, you can get 2x. But for HyPoint technology, you can invest now in the company who will be bringing them a couple $2 billion in 5 years. So it's a long-term vision. And of course, so there are a lot of enthusiast investors and professional investors who invest company, and they understand that this technology really enabling, accelerate market changing, and et cetera, et cetera. I put now and we'll get them, let's say 100x in 5-7 years. There's a good strategy. So, but of course, it's not for everyone. I completely agree. And depends on the level of development of the company and et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. So different investors can invest in the company. This is the usual process. Right. But who would like to get like a fast profit? Of course, HyPoint is not a good deal. I completely accept that. But for some of funds who understand the deep tech, but it's a real deep tech, and it will be win the market.
Yeah, I completely agree. So the next one, I'm sure this is a fun question that all CEOs love to answer, but what separates HyPoint from your competitors? Can you talk about the differences between you and other fuel cell providers? I know we've talked about a lot of the big differences, but in your own words, and what really makes you unique?
So first of all, my team. So I don't know, is it by chance or this is my personal, I don't know. But we really, in the team right now, we invited, I would say, that experts. And so you should understand that people, so what's making me different in terms of technology, I have already explained. So I work in big corporations. I know how it works. So from 9 to 5, so 1 hour for lunch. Oh, so sorry, this is a weekend, so we are not working, so we wait. And it's at holidays. My team right now working 6 days, about 12 hours a day. And it's not because I'm pushing them. No. They're really inspired at what they're doing. And every day we deliver some results and they see, hey, it's like an art for them, they're really inspired and they we are really doing that our hands. And this works. And that is why for engineers, it's a dream work. You know what I mean, right? Yeah. I mean, they really dream to be in that situation, and that is I provided them that opportunity to be in the beginning of the company when you can do by your hands real product. So of course I know that in a couple of years HyPoint becomes like a more corporate structure because big investments will require. But right now it's like a freedom. You can do everything you want. Just to bring an idea on the table, we invest in. Looks good. Let's go. Let's try. This is like a startup environment. And our competitors right now, it's the companies who's on a stock exchange market.
Yeah.
That's a big difference. That is why we are running 3-5 years ahead of them. So this is true. So, and plug power, power cell, advanced technologies, and others. So they have really become corporations. They have a lot of restrictions on operations. They cannot move so fast as HyPoint right now.
No, it really is inspiring. And I think it's important to emphasize the potential of what you are developing. If you don't mind using a real world example, can you talk about your collaboration with Zero Avio? You kind of mentioned them before, and what makes that relationship so special?
So, because Zero Avio was the first company who bring idea with zero CO2 emission electric aircrafts and powertrains to the market. And I'm really happy to work with them. They also well-experienced team, and the Miftachov itself, he's a pilot, he understands all issues, right? So for me, teaming with Zero Avio, we also get a lot of education, I would say, from them, because when we are speaking with companies like Zero Avio and Pariseki, so first of all, I'm trying to understand what exactly their needs, right? So we are trying to speak with them in their language. So for me, it's like a training. I try to be prepared to speak, to start real conversation with big guys. I don't want to say their names, you know them well. And of course, special that's Val and his team started like a Pariseki too, right? They started to believe in HyPoint technology. And for me, it's like a checkbox. So, this is a really reliable partner we can rely on. So we are very, very transparent. We're discussing the future development, future improvements, and etc. etc. Usually, when talented engineers, talented founders meet each other, right? So they can create something absolutely new. Because again, this is a bit different environment, not from corporate world. So that's actually how all innovations usually do, right? So usually integrated in the market.
So if we could just pivot for a second and talk about the economics of hydrogen fuel cells in aviation. I know that HyPoint has customers and partnerships, but you guys are still in the development phase on your way to commercialization. We don't have to talk about current numbers specifically, but can you give us an overview on the strategy behind future profitability for your company? Basically, what is your roadmap to success?
It's easy. So right now we are also thinking 20, 30 years horizon, right? And we are evaluated and estimated already potential market segment is a few $1 billion the target addressable market. So when we understand how much we can occupy in that market, what's the share we can get. So, and we do strongly believe that next 10 years we can do $1 billion revenue. So, and it's not again, and this is like a pessimistic scenario. So again, if everything will be happen as announced right now, I mean, not only from HyPoint but also from airlines, from the market, what we hear, and we're wow, $1 billion is not a big deal next 10 years to achieve. And in the beginning of our conversation, I said that there are two trends why hydrogen: climate change and economic aspects. Mm-hmm. And of course, so we just built a few calculations with helicopters, and we see that we can increase efficiency of operation, total cost of ownership, and decrease total cost of ownership by up to 50%, and 25% just using standard price for hydrogen right now. In California is about, let's say, I don't remember exactly, so but it's about $14 per kilogram. Mm-hmm. We can do 25% reduction of total cost of ownership. Wow, just if technology will be in place right now. But based on different types of scenarios, there's the next 10 years in this decade, we can do with the price of hydrogen will decrease up to $1. Let's say, okay, I put in our calculation $3. Pessimistic again, $3 per kilogram. And we can do 50% reduction of total cost of ownership. So that is why, as I said earlier, this really motivates airlines companies to integrate that technology in their aircraft, because this is really money. So we also spoke with Pariseki. They did a few different types of calculations, and they demonstrated to their customers, say, hey guys, if you integrate P890 with hydrogen fuel cell from HyPoint, you can get your profitability from one helicopter, $2 million, let's say next 5 years. During just 5 years, you can save about $5 million, $2 million, sorry. It's a good numbers, right? So for everyone, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
This is a really good figures. That is why everybody would like to use hydrogen. That's really true.
Yeah, I mean, that's really incredible. And I love the direction that you're taking your company. I really do. One final question. Would you mind giving us your thoughts on the overall future of hydrogen in aviation? When do you think it'll really take off? Sorry for the pun. And do you see any challenges in the near future that the industry will have to overcome?
What's the future for hydrogen aviation? Only one word I have, HyPoint. I'm kidding. So future of aviation, I do strongly believe that it will be start first commercial operation of hydrogen aircraft in this decade. You will see next few years a lot of demo flights. Different companies will present their solution, powertrains in new aircraft design and etc. So this is what will happen. And based on my estimation again, so I spoke with a lot of experts in the market. So I think the real transformation will come in the middle of 2030s. So this is when it will be like a switch, so when they will create a lot of crucial mass and it will be switched completely. So, but this decade is very, very important. It's very, very important for us this year because we moved to real hardware stage. And for all companies, so next 3-5 years also will be very important. So of course, not all of companies will be survived. So we have to understand that. But this is a process, right? Yeah. So we learn to each other and etc. And everybody from this community brings something in that future success.
That's great. This has been an absolute dream of an interview. Thank you so much for joining me. I particularly enjoyed how the dynamics of your fuel cell system cuts the weight while dramatically increasing the power. I think that was amazing too. I really think that will solve the weight and power issues for hydrogen powered aircraft in the future, not just for airplanes, but also drones. We've talked about helicopters, and then even applying that further into ground transportation. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Paul, thank you very much that you invited me. It was really a pleasure to speak with you today. Hope you enjoyed this conversation. Thank you very much. So I don't know, perhaps in 1 year we will get one more interview and I will show you more in our progress and product. And as I said earlier, for us this year, it's the most important year for HyPoint.
Well, I can't thank you again. All right, everyone, if you enjoyed listening to Alex's views on the hydrogen industry and want to check out his company, HyPoint, we highly recommend visiting their website at www.hypoint.com to learn more. Thanks again. I hope you all have a great day. Take care. Hey, this is Paul. I hope you liked this podcast. If you did and want to hear more, I'd appreciate it if you would either subscribe to this channel on YouTube or connect with your favorite platform through my website at www.thehydrogenpodcast.com. Thanks for listening. I very much appreciate it. Have a great day.